Well, it's been a while, but we're back with a pro bike and we have a very special one to kick off with. We have this BMC Timemachine from Kat Matthews, hot off her second place and very impressive performance at Ironman Tulsa with the 2:49 marathon. Now we are delighted to be joined by Kat Matthews today, but currently she is actually in the lake racing Heather around a little loop. So she's going to be joining us later on to talk through some of the specifics and some of the choices, but I'm going to be picking up here just by talking through the bike and some of the basics. Now she is part of the BMC Pro Triathlon Team, and with that is very fortunate to receive this lovely BMC Timemachine 01 frame set, and then with that they will build it up with the components and sponsors that the team has. Now she is on a size small frame for the Timemachine. It comes in this very lovely metallic red finish. Now the Timemachine itself is quite an interesting frame because they offer a couple of different setups, both for triathlon and for, I guess, UCI legal time trials. So currently she's obviously got it set up for the triathlon position with this forward seat post option. But if you remove this storage unit at the back here, which slots in and snaps onto this screw at the back, we've got this extra seat post option should you want to go for a UCI legal position. And I think there's quite a lot of exciting things going on with this bike, and I'm pretty sure you're going to agree as we go through the bits. You can probably see a lot of it at a glance anyway. Now, Kat and Mark, her husband, are quite particular about aerodynamics and position, quite rightly so. And they spent a lot of time honing that position in for Kat and really working on aerodynamics. And I guess a lot of trial and error has gone on with that. So the area I want to start by really honing in on looking at is the front end. And this is quite interesting just with the bike itself, with the Timemachine, because they actually offer a couple of different base bar positions. Essentially the base bar is split in two, and you can have this upright position as Kat has currently got, or you can, preferably before you build this all up and do the routing and cabling, etc., you could switch it around and have it the other way. Now, interesting as I say that, because Kat actually did originally ask to have it in the low position. Her partner Mark kindly set that up for her and routed all the cables, did the hydraulics for her, and then having sat on the bike for less than a minute decided, no, I want the upright position. Being the lovely partner he is, he ripped it all apart and started again, and voila, here we are. But yeah, going back from that, we then have the cabling, the routing, going through the stem region, and then it all drops through the headset region and into the steerer kind of area. That's all hidden below this little case here. We've got the junction box in there as well. Well, coming up from that and onto the actual aero bars themselves, we've almost got a bit of an amalgamation of different setups, different components to make this cockpit. So we've got these risers going up into some Watt Shop shims, which allows you to kind of angle the bars, which I can see are set at around 18 degrees, give or take. And then coming up from that, we've got some revolver pads, which is a nice carbon plate underneath, very neat setup. And then we've got these USE aero bars coming forwards from that. We've also got a little makeshift carbon computer mount that's attached to that. And then apparently even for race day, she actually has a hydration bottle slotting in underneath here, I guess with the short that'll come out. Mark has also kindly created a carbon wrap that goes around that aero bottle and into the aero bars, so it's a nice seamless cockpit. You also notice she's gone for kind of the skateboard grip tape on the end of the aero bars and on the bull horns there. All right, now let's move on to the Groupset. And again, we've got a bit of an amalgamation going on here too, because we have some Shimano Dura Ace R9150 brake levers on the front there, but you'll see coming back from that, we've got a bunch of Ultegra components. Now, apparently, if they had the choice, they would go for Dura Ace, but due to the pandemic and the shortage of components for bikes, Ultegra was all they could get. But in fairness, and as they admit, actually the trade-off between Dura Ace and Ultegra is very little in terms of the performance and also the weight. And given that it is a time trial bike designed to go fast, there is very little really in it. So they've committed to having the Ultegra set up. Hidden underneath this carbon kind of wrap here, we've actually got a 55-42 chainring, so pretty meaty. They have got different setups for different courses, different races, so they're constantly changing that out. They've also got to the extent of a 56 1x setup where they'd obviously be removing that front mech altogether. So really interesting in making sure that they research each of the races. She's got a 165 crank length and she's got the Look Keo blade carbon pedals on the end there, but again, she's actually looking at changing those and getting the Wahoo SpeedPlay pedals in due course. As I mentioned already, we've got this carbon kind of wrap over the top just for aerodynamics, just kind of smoothing out that airflow. Going back from that to go with that 55-42 chain wheel, we've actually got an 11-28 cassette and ratio there. But I suspect all of you have already noticed this rather obvious bling gold chain and the system on the rear mech, both from Muc-Off, which is a partner of the BMC Pro Triathlon Team. Now, a lot of you out there will know Muc-Off for their cleaning products, but they also spend a lot of money, resource, technology and development in reducing friction and ultimately saving you watts, and that is what this is all about here. Now let's start with the gold chain. So these are actually provided to the athletes on the team before each of the races, and it literally is made for the race with the right amount of wax, the coating, I guess the consistency of that wax for the conditions of that course and maybe even the terrain. I don't really know. I mean, it's kind of a bit of an art that is kept quite secret. But the interesting thing from that is that they then take the chain off directly after the race and they'll send that back to Muc-Off, who will then analyze the chain to, I guess, see if they can make further developments and advancements with that. So really quite interesting. Coming down from the rear mech though, we have this rather large jockey wheel system. It is the new Muc-Off LOPS system, which I guess similarly to some of the other systems we've seen, it's increasing the jockey wheel size, which in turn is improving the chain flow and smoothness of the chain. So we haven't got these tight angles as it goes around these smaller jockey wheels that we typically have. So yeah, ultimately reducing friction and saving watts. And then onto the wheels, again, another team sponsor, DT Swiss. So on the front, we have the DT Swiss Arc 1100 80mm depth wheel. On the rear, we have this very lovely and rather new disc wheel from DT Swiss, which might add has a very nice valve cover, which is incredibly simple in design, but very smart and works very well. And I don't think I've seen anything like it before. So thumbs up DT Swiss for that design. Obviously, as you've noticed, we've got disc brakes on this bike, which BMC have actually designed some very nice covers that come off the fork and the rear stays to actually cover the caliper area and smoothen out that airflow. On those wheels, we've got the Hutchinson Fusion tubeless tyres, both in 25mm front and rear, and they are actually set up tubeless too. All right, and final couple of bits before we get Kat in to talk through some of the specifics. So the saddle, she's actually got the Selle Italia Novus Evo Superflow saddle, which is something, well, a saddle I would typically regard as a road saddle, minimal cushioning on the front, but she says she's very happy with it and works really well, and it's clearly working very well for her. She's got this specialised mount actually coming off the back here. She obviously nabbed off an older bike, and then she's got this kind of tighter, tougher cage on the back to store a bottle should she need, which apparently she rarely does use during racing. She tends to just use the bottle here on the down tube and the front hydration system, and that is just there just in case she needs to grab something. We've got, as I've mentioned, this Elite Chrono CX bottle on the down tube, which is a very popular bottle with the dimpling on it, nice and aero. We've got this storage system at the back here, which I've actually kind of chopped the top off to make it nice and streamlined with the top tube there, which, hey, why not? And then we've also got a couple of little mounting points here should you want to put a top tube bag on there and screw that in, which is a nice feature for the Time Machine. All right, well, Kat is back from her swim. We'll reveal the results at a later date. So thanks for joining us. And we are inside because of the classic British weather. Now, I've mentioned already about this amazing position you've got on your bike. Now, talk me through kind of the trial, error, the process of getting to that position. What have you changed on it over time?
I think I've probably done a bit of a low-key adapt and try it, adapt mechanisms. But so the front end is obviously a little bit bodged, with lots of different parts that we talked about. And we've actually gone higher at the front. I decided that I felt too low, so we just made it a bit higher. We haven't looked at it in the
in like a wind tunnel or anything?
Yeah, no.
So what you do, you just kind of looking in a mirror at home and kind of figuring
basically.
it out? Okay.
So my husband Mark, he's like really into the aerodynamics, and he'll look at, you know, we've got side on, we've got the angles. I've done a Riddle bike fit originally on the previous model and then again on this model.
Yeah.
So we had a good baseline, and then we've just adapted. And I think I realised that I was just feeling a little bit more confident in riding and pushing power if I was just slightly higher at the front. So we just added in a 1 centimetre riser, and immediately it just felt a lot more comfortable, and I was just way more in control. I was actually able to tuck my head better with it higher. So I don't think we lost much of the frontal area in terms of the aerodynamics.
I think that's really interesting, actually.
Yeah, and I guess the same for the seat post as well. So yes, we had a measurement with the Riddle bike fit, but I've just adapted. I'm pretty into the idea that, you know, your muscles are different lengths, different times of the day, different days, depending on how fatigued you are. So I'm not rigid with the absolute 0.1 millimetre that it should be. And I think just learning to adapt is probably quite good for, you know, not being too fixed with knees and hips as well.
Cool. And I actually have spotted, I've already mentioned about this lovely gold chain, but you've got the chain from Tulsa.
Yes.
And this is going to be sent off now, is that right?
Yeah, so this is a muck-off special chain just made for the BMC Triathlon Team, for me specifically, for the Tulsa race. It's numbered 1054. It's pretty cool to have a, you know, individual serial number. And then they're doing different analysis on it. So I've put down the weather conditions, how far I rode it, and yeah, we'll send that off this week to muck-off. And hopefully for the next race, we'll obviously have a different chain.
Cool. And you've also brought along a bit of some of your bike equipment. So talk us through this.
So this is my beautiful UVEX helmet. Obviously, it's the time trial version. It can look quite bulky, but actually it fits a really nice position, even though it looks like a very big round helmet. It's been really good to me. It's got a brilliant visor. Sometimes I'm genuinely wearing it and I don't realise that I've got the visor on. I've had to sort of check it's there.
I assume it's like a magnetic, you can flip it on and off,
absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
So it's a really simple.
Can you touch up the top as well?
It does fit on the top.
Oh, that's cool, isn't it?
But it's not the most stable on the top. So unfortunately, that's what happened in Tulsa, is that I did put it on the top, and then I was unfortunate with some speed bumps. But I didn't need it anyway because it was
You're
very
like a
wet.
fighter pilot with that up there. That's really cool. The shoes, though, this is interesting because they're not flashy new shoes by any means.
I'd say they were scrappy, dirty, old shoes. These are just Mavics. They were their top of the range a couple of years ago, I think, the Ultimate SL Cosmic Mavic shoe, but I haven't been able to find my size in this beautiful shoe again, so unfortunately I'm wearing these to the absolute end.
Mavic, if you're listening, make these shoes again for Kat. That's awesome. Anything else to add to this bike? I mean, we've talked through a lot here today.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Brilliant. All right, well, super. Thanks ever so much to everyone watching this today. If you've enjoyed this video, you like this bike, give it a big thumbs up, give it a like. Thank you again, Kat, for joining us today. If you would like to see more from GTN, make sure you're following us over on social media or subscribe just down below.